reality
Therapist
what's going
perception.
on.
Bachelorette. Hello and welcome back to Reactivity TV. I'm Amy Albero and I'm a licensed therapist.
I am Chris. I'm not a licensed therapist, but, you know, this show had some stuff that needs to be talked about. So here I am to talk about it.
You seem so thrilled to be here today.
Oh, this is quite an ambivalent episode for me. Why was it 3 hours? I felt like it could have been done in 90 minutes easy, and there was just so much filler. Am I wrong?
I've never felt like more of a sucker in my entire life because the chokehold that the Bachelor franchise has on me is so strong. Like, this was absurd. This was mean.
I actually had to watch it in 2 sittings because I had paused it
I did
halfway
3.
through.
Yeah.
Oh, I paused it halfway through and I was like, there's no way. It's got to be almost done. I'm like, this halfway done. And then we got through the first altar scene and I paused at that point, but like, okay, there's got to be like 5 minutes left. There was still 18 minutes left. I was like, I'm going to bed. I can't. I'm done for tonight. It was brutal, but yeah. Oof. Production, please. You know, if
Let's
you
go back to the 1 hour episode.
Yeah,
Last
that
week was
was great.
37 minutes. That was beautiful.
Beautiful. There was no need for it to be this long, but you know, we're getting ahead of ourselves.
Right. Okay. So clearly we have a lot to say, and we promise we will be more efficient than that episode was. But before we get into all of that, please don't forget to hit that like button at the bottom of this video. And also please subscribe to our YouTube channel. These 2 very small things go such a long way, and we really, really appreciate when you do.
Yeah, and please also hit that bell icon so that you're alerted anytime we post new content to the channel.
Yes. Well, I guess with that being said, too, we will have more content just because Golden Bachelor is over and Bachelor in Paradise is over officially now. Doesn't mean that we're done here. We will be coming back each week, including reacting to Gary and Teresa's wedding on January 4th, as well as a bunch of other stuff as we reflect on this season and Golden Bachelor season. And
yeah, we got some great concepts coming out. We're going to do a superlatives episode for some of our best and worst and, you know, high school style yearbook thing going on.
Right.
And a couple other good ideas. But if you guys have ideas for things that you'd like us to talk about or touch on, you know, drop them in, you know, the comments, and we will we'll make sure that we try and get to them.
Yes.
Yep. And then we've got, you know, we'll be doing that content until Joey season comes out. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Be excited.
Are you be excited?
I just, I hope Joey has more personality in his season than he has been shown to have over his couple of cameos that we've had. He showed up in Golden Bachelor twice. Has he?
Twice?
Yeah, he showed up at the one of the live
Pickleball?
events
Oh.
and at pickleball, and it's there's been really nothing. And I would have thought they might have, like, you know, wanted to give him some time to shine to really sell the next, but they've just not.
The haircut glow up did that. He is
Oh,
good.
interesting.
We're all set.
Yeah, as somebody who didn't watch whatever season he was on prior to this, I have nothing to work with right now for him. It's been very, very bland. So I'm hoping that that isn't his real personality, and that's just a function of how things have been produced and edited.
Yeah, I mean, he could have also just been giving Gary a time to shine.
That's true too. Yeah. Okay, so I have a couple of questions before we get into it.
Clearly we are evading actually talking about the shit
my
show.
God,
I mean, that's what's going on here.
It was just like, I mean, I feel like it was a roller coaster's wrong, like maybe like a tennis match where they were just like bouncing or they just bounced all over the place between all the couples constantly. It's like, could you just stay put? And here's the thing, there was nothing interesting happening in a good solid 50% of it. So it felt like they committed to 3 hours and they said, hey, we just have to find a way to fill 3 hours. And even though everything that was happening was boring, they figured, okay, if we sit on one couple too long, then the audience is going to be bored. And so even though what we're going to show them next is also boring, the transition to another couple will at least like jolt them a little bit. And then we'll stick there for a couple of minutes. And even though that's boring, by the time they realize it's boring, we'll jolt them to the next couple. And that's what the whole episode felt to me.
I don't know. It was just a slog. Like,
Yeah.
It felt like it dragged on forever. It felt like the worst parts of running, you know, it was just like that part of like running or exercise when it's like, I just have to like, just push through, like, just get through it. It felt like a necessary evil.
So this is like,
time.
correct me if I'm wrong, but you would say that this episode for you was the equivalent of book 3 of The Wheel of Time.
God. Yes.
Book 4 is the best.
Sure. That's what I keep hearing. Okay. So really, what were you going to say before we get into the
Sure.
episode?
Yeah. So a couple of quick things, you know, again, being my first foray into this franchise and into Paradise, how many or how common is it for people to get engaged? Like, how many are we expected to get
Mhm.
in any given season? Is it 0? Is it 5? Like, what is a typical number?
I don't remember a Bachelor in Paradise season where there wasn't an engagement.
Oh, interesting.
Last season, two couples got engaged, Victoria Fuller and Johnny, I forget what his last name was, and Brandon and Serene. Uh, Johnny and Victoria broke up before the kind of after the final rose, and Brandon and Serene kind of quietly broke up at some point between after the final rose and now. So, but as you may have picked up on, at the end of Bachelor in Paradise this season, they did a little montage, and this is like the most successful show of all of the entire franchise in terms of things ending in engagement, marriage, kids, long-term relationships, things like that. So it's Paradise works to a degree.
Okay, fair enough. And so, we got more than spoiler, more than one,
Mhm.
less than 7.
Mhm.
So that is right in the wheelhouse of what we'd expect to see.
Mhm.
Interesting. I was kind of expecting that we would see more 0 and 1s, and that would kind of be the baseline. But
Mhm.
interesting. Okay.
Mhm.
All right. So let's get into it. We ultimately have 3 couples that play prominent in this episode, and that's going to be Kylee, Aven, Eliza, Aaron B. Obviously, no shocker there, and Kat and John Henry. So we're going to plow through everybody else real quick, and then we'll focus, on those 3 after that, right?
Mhm.
All right, so let's start with the very somber beginning.
Yeah.
What to talk about, like a depressing opener, right? We've got Mercedes and Jess, really just stewing in their own misery, and they're like trying to like pump themselves up, and they decide that they're going to go make like a sandcastle and like the whole 9 yards. But I mean, just a kind of a very, very sad opening. And then they cut away from that to go immediately to Kylee, who is demonstrating a tremendous amount of jealousy
Mhm.
over Eliza and Aaron B's relationship, and admits that she's been crying. And this sets sort of the tone for Kylee and Aven's storyline for the entire episode. Really, really downer of an opening. So your thoughts on that before we get into the couples?
Yeah, I mean, definitely a downer. And again, it's been a week since the last episode aired. So they remind us that it was just the night before that a number of people self-eliminated. So like
3 were expected, 5 went home.
yeah, right. And so the beach is really crumbling here.
Mhm.
And there's very little time left. So I think yes, it's a somber tone, but they did this to themselves. I don't know why they chose to stay. They should have just gone home.
Mhm. You talk about Jess and Mercedes specifically. Yeah, yeah, I agree. It didn't really make a whole lot of
Like, what
sense.
were you expecting?
Yeah, you're on your last rose ceremony. At this point, you're literally just throwing darts and hopes,
Mhm.
and there's not enough time to really make
Mhm.
anything happen. Interestingly enough, though, we did find out past seasons were closer to 3 weeks, but this one was apparently 5.
That's what Jesse said.
That's what Jesse said. I was surprised it was that long. And they crammed all of that into few episodes. Realistically speaking, that basically means we got basically 2 episodes a week.
Mhm.
And over 5 weeks, there were only 4 rose ceremonies, 5 if you count the conclusion. So it's basically literally 1 rose ceremony at the end of each
Mhm.
week, which interesting. It's a slightly different timeline I would have expected. I kind of would have thought we would have seen maybe more people drop on the beach, and like maybe 1 or 2 additional, maybe have a rose ceremony every 5 days instead of
Yeah.
every 7.
No, I think in hearing a lot of Bachelor recap podcasts that someone had like the exact same thought of like, I wish we had more turnover, almost like more rose ceremonies. It did feel very dragged out, especially knowing that it was a longer duration of time. Like that's a really long time. And actually knowing that it was 5 weeks and seeing the couples that like stayed together just for the sake of it, like Blake and Jess is a really good example. Like you stuck to each other for 5 weeks, and after 5 weeks of being with each other 24 hours a day, you still couldn't cultivate any sort of spark, and you kept going. Like it just
Yeah, like Mercedes and Tyler, I think, are actually even a better example of that,
Mhm.
because at least Jess and Blake, there was something there. They were
Yeah.
good people. I think they genuinely enjoyed each other. Like, but the Tyler and Mercedes thing, there was really nothing there at
Just that
all.
first date, maybe.
Just that, yeah, exactly. And Tyler, at least Blake was showing affection, and Jess was showing affection in some way, shape, or form.
Mhm.
It wasn't clearly enough, but Tyler was giving Mercedes nothing,
Mhm.
and that must have been, in hindsight now, like 2.5 to 3 weeks at
Mhm.
least worth of.
Yeah.
That's brutal.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, brutal. But you know, Mercedes is off hanging out with her pigs now, so she's cool. So we just mentioned Jess and Mercedes. Let's start with Jess because she was the first one that production showed us. She gave her rose to Tanner. We knew that this was sort of a last ditch effort. We knew that she was interested, but we also feel pretty strongly that Tanner is just hanging out and really not interested in the relationship. I thought this was an interesting discussion that they had. She prior to the discussion with Tanner was talking all about how she misses Blake and she misses dressing for him and misses all
Blake's compliments.
I was going to get there and misses dressing up for him and misses all of the compliments that you know, as we talked about in our episode on attachment styles and love languages. Her love language is clearly words of affirmation, and she's really missing the words of affirmation.
Well, the thing that she said that I like just couldn't really relate to, but I know it's like not unique to Jess, that a lot of people, not even necessarily women, feel is like, well, I don't have a guy to dress for, so what's the point? Where it's like, what about for yourself? Like, does not putting on a cute outfit or whatever, like, does that not make you feel good? It again spoke to just the need, the thirst for external validation.
Yeah. And
like very much in a what's the point kind of
absolutely.
attitude.
And what I want to point out here is going back to the love language episode that we did. Look at Tanner and look at Jess. Tanner doesn't appear to be the type of guy who's going to be a words of affirmation, outbound love language type of guy. And she is clearly that, you know, needing that. So it just felt like this was never going to work anyways, even if she was really, really attracted to him.
Why? What do you see Tanner as?
Tanner, I mean, he's got more personality now than we saw at the very beginning. But I think he's, I think that he's really interested in focusing on himself. And I think he does a very good job, and we saw it demonstrated in this conversation with Jess, where when he needs to say the right thing, he can stumble on the right thing to say, and he can come across as a nice, caring guy. But I think that's more or less a facade for a guy who's young and really interested in himself and pushing his own career forward. And all of this is just kind of a means to an end. And I don't say that in any sort of mean, malicious way. I actually have grown in my opinion of Tanner over the course of this show. In some ways, I kind of relate to him when I was in my 20s, where he's in his 30s.
We say this like every episode.
It's so surprising to me that he's in his 30s. But anyway, I still relate to him in my early 30s. We were together at that point, and you know, I was very career driven, and you were either along for the ride or you know, you weren't gonna be in the car. And that's so I get it. It's not necessarily healthy in trying to formulate a relationship. So I wouldn't necessarily go on a dating show if that's where I'm at personally. But I get him.
I think he comes across to me as very passive when it comes to engaging with women that he's potentially interested in. Like, we don't really see any sort of outward kind of overture about his interest in someone. He's like very like the lean back is like the best way that I can think to describe his approach. And so I think because Jess needed so much external validation and affirmation for that reason, it just seems like maybe Tanner's a little bit more of maybe like an acts of service type of guy, something like that. That might not resonate with Jess.
Yeah, because he's clearly not a physical touch guy either. At least not with his tongue.
Okay, so Jess is really having, I mean, she's sort of kind of putting an effort with Tanner, but she's really having a hard time. And we see her start to spiral a little bit. Her immaturity definitely shows. We see this very strange exchange between she and Kat that
with no lead up, no context, no, yeah, it was very strange.
No idea what that was about. I don't know. I don't even necessarily want to infer what was going on, but she was definitely going through it. And ultimately, with some encouragement from Tanner, perhaps decides to self-eliminate, to go home and to choose herself.
Yeah, I thought Tanner actually did a pretty decent job here. I think he saw the writing on the wall. He knew he wasn't going to get engaged to her. And
well, it's not even necessarily about getting engaged at this point. It's like, do we want
another couple of days,
or do we want to like potentially explore this outside of Paradise? That's like for the people like Jordan, Tanner, even Michael and Olivia, the people that haven't been together for very long. Like, that's, I think, what you're trying to figure out. Is this worth exploring outside of here?
Yeah. And which is kind of a weird thing anyways, because like, it doesn't matter what you decide, you can shoot the second you're off the show, you can change your mind in either direction. So it's sort of a weird, it's a weird option. You know, it's either really just get engaged or get gone. Those are the only two options really in a practical sense. But Yeah. All right. So ultimately, Jess decides that she's going to go home, and Tanner, obviously, that's the way the rules of the game. I'm going home too. I mean, could he theoretically, and just I don't know how this works, and has anybody like taken a shot like, well, I'm not ready to go home yet. Mercedes, what's going on? Hey, young lady,
I
you're looking
mean,
fetching today. Like what?
I guess hypothetically he could have shot his shot at Mercedes, but what's the point?
Well, it's more of a theoretical question. I think that would not play well
Mhm,
on,
mhm.
production would have a field day with that one. But theoretically, at this point, there's no like line of demarcation where you are now coupled up and you're now a cohesive unit, and what happens to one, it happens to the other. Like he could theoretically have shot his shot at
Sure.
somebody else, right? Yeah.
Mhm,
Okay. I'd like to see that on a season. That would be that's good entertainment. Let's get one of them.
mhm.
Um,
So
all
they
right.
both leave.
So they
Two
both
more
leave.
down.
Two more down. We started with seven, so now we're down to six. Then we roll into
Seven couples.
seven couples. Yeah, seven couples down to six. Now we roll into Mercedes, and her and Jordan have been together for 15 seconds. Needless to say, Mercedes, yanks him, and it's like, yeah, we know this isn't anything. Let's
I
just go
mean,
home now.
hilariously, she uses the same language that Tyler used with her
Oh, I didn't pick up
in
on that.
that there's not a spark here.
Oh,
And I just thought like that was great.
chef's
Nice,
kiss
nice touch.
to
Yeah.
to quote Olivia. Yeah. So they go home.
Mhm,
Not much to talk about there. It was pretty
mhm,
straightforward, pretty
mhm,
obvious. And then let's go right into Olivia and Michael.
mhm,
This was a little bit of a surprise for me. I actually thought that they would at least pretend, if not truly give it a
mhm,
shot outside of here. And it seemed like Olivia was open to that, but Michael was like, "I'm a realist, and
mhm,
I don't think this works outside of here."
mhm,
Um, I this was probably one of the bigger surprises for me.
mhm.
Your thoughts on this?
So I think what was most surprising to me about it was the what felt to me, and I'd love to hear your all thoughts about it, but what seemed to be a very drastic shift in Michael's energy.
Hmm.
We've seen him as this like very outgoing, charismatic, kind of like light guy. And this shift in the way that he talked with Olivia about it kind of seemed a little cold
Hmm.
and a little like, yeah, no, like it just didn't feel very warm or compassionate at all. And that to me was the most jarring about it was it just seemed so discrepant from the way that he's engaged this entire time.
Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting observation. I didn't necessarily go there with it. The way I kind of observed it was he he's been with her for like less than a week or maybe a week, and like they live far apart, and it's probably not going to work. So like, this has been fun, but
Mhm,
like let's not do something for the sake of just trying to do it. Like
mhm, mhm. Yeah. Yeah, and Olivia was seemed I don't blindsided, I guess, but very disappointed. And it was really hard to watch her in the limo and
yeah.
just completely shut down and defeated. And that was really sad.
Yeah, I mean, I think
She's
Olivia.
she's been through a lot this season.
Yeah, I mean, I actually kind of want to go back and watch what we said about her in the first episode or two and see how much of it stands up and how much of it we've changed on her.
Mhm,
She's one of my favorite people on the beach. But she has just been everywhere,
mhm,
just bounced all over the place. And I definitely feel bad that this is how it ends for her.
mhm,
But I think she's going to come out of this pretty well. I
mhm,
think I think this show is going to open up
mhm,
opportunities for her, and I think that there's probably many, many, many
mhm,
men out there in the world
mhm,
who will have watched this show and will be like, "Oh, I would actually love to date a girl like Olivia."
mhm,
I think you get something with her that is somewhat rare. I think you're going to get somebody who's fun, who's loyal, who's got a good head on her shoulders, and somebody who could actually be a real solid partner. And I think there's plenty of men out there who are looking for that. I think she is a great package, and it helps that she's quite pretty as well.
mhm,
So she's gonna do all right for herself. I'm not worried. But long story short, Michael breaks up with her, and they depart, and now we are down to four.
mhm. I just want to take a quick pause to tell you that Revive is hiring. In our Miami and Pittsburgh offices, we have full and part-time W-2 and 1099 clinician positions available, and this includes both postgraduate and associate level licenses, in addition to fully licensed clinicians. In our Connecticut offices, we have full-time, fully licensed W-2 clinician positions available, including clinical supervisor opportunities. If you are interested in working for a company that values community, work-life balance, and your personal and professional growth, then we want to meet you. Find a link to our website in our bio.
So let's move over to Peter and Sam. This one was one we were talking last week off camera, just about like what do we predict for each of the couples? And Peter and Sam were sort of the one, the wild card one, where I said literally I think it's all a show and I think it's all an act. And so I have no idea because like they're not like getting married and getting engaged at the end of the day. I also think that they know ultimately from night one, they knew this is somebody I'm going to have a ton of fun with. I can roll with to the end of paradise and it's going to be cool. But like, there's never going to be a marriage. But I think at the end of this, we'll actually be really good friends and there's going to be a memory that we're going to have forever. And so it wouldn't shock me if they like had already planned out how this was going to end where they both get great edits, right? And I think that's exactly what we got. Ultimately, Peter, you get a couple of scenes of him basically saying, yeah, I'm into this, I'll give it whatever shot you want. He looks like the guy who's ready to commit to this girl who is really like a wonderful guy. And Sam's like the one who she's like ends up breaking up with him and it's like, I just don't think it's going to work, I want to be honest and whatever. And
I don't
like
think it's going to work at all, she says.
well, yeah, but still, but at the end of the day, I think they both leave with a good edit. And off they go. I did kind of think that they would play the card of, well, we'll give it a try. So this was a little bit, I think I would have predicted something slightly different, but I don't think I think it's all a game anyways. So
yeah, I think I was expecting them to be a little bit more on the same page. It wouldn't shock me if they had conversations around like, we like clearly like let's just like ride this out till the end, like we have fun, they make out enough or just they have a good time, they seem to again like have a good friendship. And so I think I was just expecting them to be a little bit more on the same page of like, this was fun, I had such a good time, but like it's just not going to work.
Well, if they were too much on the same page though, then they wouldn't have gotten airtime.
No, I mean in that breakup.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Well, but I think it looks better for Peter to look like he's looking for a committed relationship and looking
so
like that.
You think that was all an act from
Absolutely,
Peter?
yeah.
Him saying the thing at Mari and Kenny's wedding.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, 100%. I think at the end of the day, like they were both looking to get the best edit out of here. And the most, I would say best is probably incorrect terminology. They were looking for the most advantageous edit that they could get to push their own, agendas of what they're trying to get out of the show. And I think they both nailed it. I think they both got exactly, what they were looking for. Yeah. And yeah.
The thing that I'm really curious about, as we talked about when Sam was introduced to us, we don't know anything about what happened on like Bachelor in Paradise Canada or whatever season she was on. And what we do know about Peter is that he was very quickly off of charity season, and the whole group of men from that season did not like him. And we at the beginning of this season had been like, yeah, we get it. Like he's a dick. He's an asshole. So there is a part of me that wonders, like, initially we were thinking like, okay, Peter's going for the villain edit to kind of get as much screen time as possible. But there is a part of me that wonders if they were trying to create a redemption arc for each of them. Again, I have no idea what Sam was like on her season, but yeah. But we did come away with a more favorable opinion of
Peter than I was expecting. Yeah. I mean,
they were just kind of fine. They were fun. Like I could have done without them as well, but like they did not detract from my experience watching in the way that, like, for example, Kylee and Aven do, or just Kat in general does.
Yeah, there were very few times where they were on screen. I was like, get them off screen.
Or should add, as well as Eliza and Aaron. Basically, the three couples that
we're going to talk about.
The three couples I just rooted against the entire time.
Yeah, I mean, well, I think there was a defining difference between John Henry and Kat. John Henry I really liked, and he had some good, interesting, entertaining moments. Kat was wildly entertaining.
She was good TV.
Yeah, there was nothing entertaining about Aaron B and Eliza during the entire season. It was all just frustrating. I wanted to go away. And Kylee and Aven gave us a couple of tiny moments of entertainment. Mostly Kylee, not so much Aven. But most of the time, that was wasted screen time in my mind. So yeah, I do think there's a slight difference between two of those couples and the third. But all right, so we're down to those three couples anyways. So we're going to start for our obvious reasons with Aven and Kylee. Oh my God. I'm going to let you start on this one.
I don't think I want to.
Oh God.
I just, one thing, my regular co-host, Catherine, who's on maternity leave, and I have talked about, we've reacted to a number of Bachelor franchise seasons at this point. And every time we get to engagement week, we have to have a conversation around what it actually means to be engaged and what many of the contestants on this show think it means to be engaged. And Kylee is clearly someone that does not understand what it actually means to enter into an engagement with someone. And I found just the way that she engaged was quite immature in terms of, again, her conception of engagement, but also seemed quite bratty and as though she's never been told no a day in her life. And this was
Well,
just,
she probably hasn't ever been told no a day in her life.
well, that's what it was giving.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I 100% agree. Go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
no,
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm so, I feel like so annoyed that like I don't even know where to begin. So
Yeah. So here's the thing. Aven, I have been pretty like bored and very blah with Aven. I know people liked him coming in, but I've said all along about Aven. He's like wet cardboard for me. There's not a lot of personality, not a lot of interest there. I was so proud of him this episode, and this was the episode where I really rooted for him and cheered for him and had a lot of respect for him because he held his ground and he wasn't going to be bullied around by the hot girl who wanted to get away, who was going to stamp, her feet and cry, cry and pout, and that's what Kylee was this episode. I don't think she understands what, to your point, what an engagement is. It's, for some reason, she seems to think that engagement equals like exclusive monogamous relationship. Like those are two. And like if this was say 400 years ago, that's true, right? That's actually true what it would be. But in 2023, that's not what an engagement is. And the fact that she just wasn't getting what she wanted, and she was literally just stamping her feet and crying and pouting and
well, what she was, I think, trying to say is, I know, for me, I know that you are the one, and I know that I want to marry you. And so you saying that you won't give me this engagement means that you don't know it's me, and that's frustrating. And so if she could have just stayed there, like, and stayed in vulnerability and saying, this is really scary for me. I feel like I know that you're the one for me. It's making me feel a little insecure that I'm not able to hear that back from you. And at the same time, Aven did such a beautiful job. I don't think he could have done a better job of reassuring her. He also was quite vulnerable in saying that he's falling in love with her, that he can't imagine a future without her, that that's all he wants, that he's happy, that he wants to move forward in life with her, that they have these goals that he's really excited about. Like everything about what Aven was describing was a partnership and a serious committed relationship. And Kylee could not hear that. And we were seeing Aven he was very patient with her in their conversations, but we see him in his ITMs and just like some of the mic picked up some stuff from him, just getting so frustrated. Like this, like everyone seems to think that the most reasonable thing to do is to get engaged. Like this is so unreasonable, or Kylee only cares about a fucking ring. And it's like, for him to be able to have that, have those thoughts and yet still remain so with her and so patient and so still forthcoming was really impressive. It really demonstrated the amount of care that he has for her. And I felt so frustrated for him that he was saying to her, like, essentially like, if you feel this way about me, then I don't understand why we can't just leave together. And she was saying, well, if you feel all those ways about me, I can't understand why you can't give me what I want. And that to me gave me a lot of concerns about what their future will look like when differences of opinion come up, because they really were at an impasse. And Kylee her perception of what was happening was that she was going to have to give in completely, like give up completely what she was looking for, and to go into a relationship like that with all of that resentment built up is probably going to be terrible for both of them. And the reality is, if she opened her ears and opened her mind, what she was really wanting is exactly what Aven was giving her, but she just couldn't hear it. She was so rigid in what she wanted.
Yeah, my interpretation of this is that, at the end of the day, marriage has a lot of compromise in it. Any relationship has a lot of compromise in it to make it work, right? And Kylee was viewing this not as a compromise, but as a sacrifice. The places where they are, I am deeply committed to you and want to marry you. I am deeply committed to you and want a little more time before I decide that I'm ready to get married. This is where they are. But in Kylie's mind, it's, I'm ready to get married. You know, you're never going to get married.
Mhm.
I mean, that's a huge
Mhm.
gap in difference.
Mhm.
And so now, you know, they're entering this relationship where Kylee is not seeing this as a compromise of like, I'm ready to get married. He's not quite there yet, but you know what? You know, we'll go out there and I will give him some amount of time
Mhm.
for him to figure it out.
Mhm.
And if after some amount of time he's not there, then I'll break up with him.
Mhm.
That's really where they are, and that's an acceptable compromise. Instead, she's like, "You're not giving me what I want, so I am going to be the one to sacrifice." And she mentioned this earlier in the episode. She, you know, to I think it was Mercedes or it was somebody, where she said, "You know, in the past, I'd just be like, oh, I'll do whatever you want, and I'll be the one to give up anything." And
That was to Blake.
I was to Blake. I was to Blake. You're right. You're right. And I looked over at you. Oh, spoiler: Blake makes a cameo, completely irrelevant, but it's all right. But we like Blake, so happy to see him back. So you know, she basically, and I turned to you. I said, I don't believe for half a second that has ever happened in her life, which means I would love to know how this perception plays out in her mind versus reality. And I think we saw that with Aven just a couple scenes later. It's it's so clear that any time that she doesn't get 100% of what she wants means that she thinks she is sacrificing everything and is just, you know, it's like, no, Kylee, you came here and you wanted Aven. You're leaving with Aven. And he appears to be very committed to you. You got what you wanted.
You won.
You won. You literally won. You got exactly what you came here for.
Right. Right.
And because 1% of it is going to have to wait, like the literally probably the least important part of it has to wait for a few more months, maybe a year, whatever it's going to be. You know, it goes back to the Jess thing where, oh, nothing goes my way. It's like just everything went your way. Like everything that bad happened to you was your own fault. You had stuff everywhere laying out for you all the time. And that's kind of how I feel about Kylee. And it's just so aggravating and frustrating. But I give Aven so much credit. And this was the episode where I said, you know what, Aven? I'm rooting for you. Good job.
Yeah.
Yep.
So they do end up leaving together. I mean, Kylee looks absolutely miserable. And I feel bad for Aven because, or I won't say I feel bad for Aven. What I worry about for Aven is that he now is in a position to have to continue to prove himself to Kylee. And that puts them as adversaries against one another. Whereas what I would have loved to have them be was on a team together against like whatever else, like conquering the next part of this relationship. But it feels as though Kylee now has all the power and Aven is subservient to her because she made this sacrifice to leave and he got his way. And so I'd be really curious to know, you know, what their relationship is like. We did learn from Instagram that they are moving in together. I think they're moving to San Diego, aka Bachelor Nation headquarters. And so we'll see. I mean, they're a beautiful couple. I hope it works out. They seem to love one another, question mark. I'm not sure, but
you know why I hope it works out? Because if it works out and they get married, we'll never have to see them again. They will literally just, I take it back. They would probably show up for like a couple of little cameos here or there, but they're not going to get cast on another Paradise. We're not going to see Aven, you know, the Bachelor. We're not going to see Kylee, the Bachelorette. And I would rather chance a couple of cameos with them in the future than have to go through another season with the two of them on screen. Right.
Yep.
I mean, Aven by himself is just so bland and boring, like fine, but I really don't want another season of where Kylie's in it from the whole time.
Can I just add something else in that I found very frustrating?
Sure.
Is that what was also very hard for me to watch was Kylee saying, I know it's you and I want to ring. And I shouldn't say I want to ring. I want to get engaged. And then watching the way that she was very clearly flirting with Blake.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It just made me feel like, do you want a ring because you feel insecure about where you are with like in this relationship with Aven? Like it made me feel like she was needing a justification or something to make her feel like more in it, more committed, because the way that she was with Blake was
2 episodes in a row now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Weird. Out of the blue,
Yeah.
presumably. Yeah.
It felt she definitely felt I just didn't she felt a little
desperate.
That's not the word. It was almost as though it was giving she knows Blake has a crush on her or is attracted to her and was yeah, sure. And was sort of like she almost felt a little bit like I don't even know if this is PC to say anymore, but like a little bit like a tease for Blake.
Well, there's one other thing I just want to talk about on them, and then you know we can wrap them up. But Blake, sorry, not Blake. Aven said something that he is going to live to regret. And that is when we get out of here, we will get to that point soon. I understand why Aven said that because it was a way to reassure Kylee. But soon is not particularly specific. And it also puts a clock on him. So to your point,
you think she's not asking
every single day? Oh, absolutely. And that's part of it. Like you were saying how, they're kind of starting it in this adversarial thing, and he has now given her the ammunition. You said soon. You said soon. Well, what is soon? That, and pretty, we've all known people like this, and we know the kind of the overbearing nature of how they can be when they, got a pebble in their shoe about something, right? And I think that Aven is going to live to regret that comment, right? And the fact that it's memorialized on national TV and he can't get away from it, I think that one's going to be, you told the whole world soon. It's been 3 weeks.
They just did a little couples photo shoot in their matching denim outfits, and good luck.
Good luck. Yep.
Have fun.
Yeah. So you already talked about what happens in the montage at the end. They are moving in together in San Diego, and hopefully we never see them again. So, shall we roll on to Eliza and Aaron B?
Another like.
Oh, I hope we can do this one in about 30 seconds. They get a date card. They go to a sweat tent. Okay. They talk about their fears and hopes. Aaron B is so cringy, and Eliza is so immature. Why can't she just speak like an adult? It's her tonal changes, her volume is up and down. She starts going into like the baby. I dated a girl once who used to occasionally like speak like a baby, and when we started dating, she was like 28 years old, and it was one of the most annoying things. It's like, you're 28 years old. Would you please stop talking like a baby? And Eliza does this too.
All I kept yelling at the TV was like, use your full voice. Say it with your full chest, Eliza, please.
The volume would go up and down with her. The tonal changes all the time. And then it's not even constant, but the verbal fry that she would occasionally demonstrate was so like,
listen, it's not even that. For me, I'm watching Aaron be so demonstrative with his words, with his actions, with his tone. He is clearly, he is buying what he's selling.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He's committed.
He's committed.
Yeah.
There is no question how committed he is to Eliza, to a cringeworthy point where it was like, okay, Aaron, we get it. You love her. Okay.
Yeah.
Like,
I gotta hear about her goddamn eggs one more time.
We all know her breakfast order at this point.
Yeah.
So like there was nothing about Aaron that was making me feel like he wasn't 100%, or to quote Teresa from Golden Bachelor, 1,000% into this. There's nothing to make me doubt. If I'm Aaron and I am not only listening to Eliza's tone, seeing how hesitant she is to be forthcoming with anything, watching her body language, and just hearing the actual words that come out of her mouth, I would not be so sure. I would not be so committed. I don't know how. He must really, love is blind, okay? Like in this sense, it must have created blinders for him. Where we talked a lot about this in Golden Bachelor finale in terms of getting put on a pedestal. He has put Eliza on this pedestal. She's so far up there that he cannot even see how ambivalent she is about being in a relationship with him, let alone being engaged and planning a future with him.
Yeah. We have evidence of Aaron B from a prior season. I didn't watch it, but you did. And he, even after getting eliminated, flew to some random location far away, Fiji, to take another shot. So it's pretty.
He's a romantic.
He's a romantic, and it's very clear that he is committed to finding somebody.
He loves love. He wants to be in a relationship.
Loves love. He's Catherine. He loves love. Loves love. Wants to be there. Right. Catherine's here in spirit. And so I get that, but yeah, it just has reached a cringy point, and it's like, come on, dude, like just. Open up your eyes a little bit. But yeah, I agree. Like, look, we all knew where this was going. You predicted it in like episode 3 or something like that. 4, something like that. Yeah, whatever. Whatever. What 2? Okay.
I'll take my victory lap.
Hold on. We're getting to your victory lap here in a second. Okay, we're getting to your victory lap because it's a really important victory lap that I want you to take. But so ultimately, we have a whole bunch of conversations between them where they're just lovey-dovey. They go do their dumb date in the sweat tent, which is like, notice how I do want to point this out. All the fears Aaron B offers him. We don't get anything shown from Eliza. I would have loved to have known what her fears were, but they didn't show us those. Their hopes were like dumb, right? Their hopes were just the inverse of their fears, which is just like I don't think that's how this is supposed to work, but okay, fine, whatever. Maybe you didn't understand the assignment. They go to fantasy suites. Honestly, by that point I was like zoned out.
We had some commentary watching this where Aaron tells her that he's in love with her.
Oh yeah.
And well, wait, or there was one.
She didn't immediately respond back to it.
Right.
She did end up coming back around. And
she
saying,
did. Yeah. She did. It took her a while, but there was also that other part. Maybe it was on the sweat tent date, but where they were exchanging falling in loves, and Eliza was saying like, I don't want to say it unless he says it. And I was like, you are so not ready to be in a relationship.
Talk about lack of vulnerability.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say it because I am afraid that he's not going to say it back.
And how could you at this point, Eliza, are you not listening? Are you not seeing?
Haven't paid attention at all?
Like, and so that again speaks to her insecurity, lack of readiness, maybe, I don't even know, amount that she actually is in this relationship. Like how can you possibly still be so unsure or insecure in this relationship? Aaron has done literally everything and more to a cringy point to let you know that he is in. And so
yeah, I'm so out on all of this. Spoiler, he does get down on one knee. I know, not the least spoiler of all the spoilers imaginable.
She doesn't know if she's going to say yes or no on the day of. She's really not sure. She really wanted her parents to be there. And it's like, you know what you signed up for here.
Yeah.
And so it just felt like she just kept putting another obstacle in front of her ability to be on this relationship.
Yeah, 100% agree. We find out in the montage that their relationship has hit some bumps in the road.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there's any big surprise there.
Oh, wait, can I just go back to their proposal? Eliza says the thing about wanting her parents to be there. Another check on the Aaron B box. He tells her that he calls her mother and talks with her. And I imagine, I don't know, he didn't say.
Imagine being the mother who get like, hey, you got a call from Mexico. Oh yeah, I'll take it. Okay, great. Hey, I know you don't know me, but I've been on the beach with your daughter for the last 5 weeks, and I'm going to ask her to marry me. My name's Aaron. I mean, can you imagine that phone call? It's a wild phone call.
But it speaks to how much he knows Eliza,
yeah.
and knowing that would be meaningful for her and important to her. Like, again, Aaron he
checks all the boxes.
All the boxes.
He checks too many of the boxes, in my opinion.
Agree. I'd love to learn more. I'm sure we will. They probably won't make it. No. But I'd love to really learn more about what happened that they're on the rocks. I mean, maybe Aaron's a great performance artist and he's,
Well, we had some criticism of him early on.
Mm-hmm.
We definitely felt like there was some insecurity there. And, if you remember, who was it that came down? When Braden came. Braden wasn't a day oneer, was he? Or somebody had come down. I don't remember who. And Aaron B and Sean were in a conversation, and there was a scene. And I said, "Oh, see, it was Braden, right? Yeah." And I said, "Look, there's something there. I would be really concerned about that guy like dating my sister, right?
Mm-hmm.
Type thing, dating a good female friend of mine." And then he got locked into Eliza, and there's been like no real insecurity there for most of the season since. So I think while it's been locked in, he hasn't shown, I think, some of his probably worst qualities.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm wondering, once you get out into the real world, if that's played a factor into it, because we definitely seen hints of personality traits that are less desirable than his cringy love and love traits.
For sure.
Yeah. Kat and John Henry. Ooh, boy, this was.
Imagine being Kat and having most of America root against you getting engaged and actually be upset that you do, because that was the experience in our house.
Yeah.
I am so angry.
It's so amazing, like
I
production.
hate when a villain wins. I do not like this.
John Henry.
Why, if they knew this was the ending, why did they give us a villain edit for Kat?
Well, I think it was just so entertaining with all the shit she was doing. The whole, like, I just think it was so entertaining. It's like, how can we not? John Henry was like one of the most eligible bachelors, I would say, because he does seem like a guy who would get into a committed relationship. He's not the brightest guy, but he's got a great career where he makes a lot of money. Because I know underwater welders, they make very good money because it's so dangerous. So he's financially set. He's handsome as hell. He's probably a guy who would get into a committed and stay into a committed relationship. And he's a little bit of a dummy, so you can be like the intellectual one in the house. Yeah, he's a catch on a lot of girls.
Don't disagree.
Yeah. So in my mind, like not only did she win in the sense of she got the engagement, but she also won by getting probably the best guy on the beach. If that doesn't make me so tremendously angry, I don't know what would. Talk about a way to end this off. But before we get ahead of ourselves, so they also get a date and they go paddleboarding and do some like champagne on the beach or whatever. And we also established that John Henry is a terrible paddleboarder. Oddly enough, Kat's pretty good at it.
She's a Pilates instructor, so she has
Oh,
a
that's
really
fair.
strong core.
Core. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. And this is, I want to pause here because this is, so one thing that all of you watching probably don't know about my lovely wife is that she has a really hard time taking credit for wins, and she gets very shy about being right and her successes. And so I am going to champion, and I will take your victory lap for you because I know you won't. But you nailed Kat, and go back and watch it in multiple episodes. You talked about why does Kat behave the way she behaves, and you outlined I don't know if it's a psychological profile of exactly what would lead somebody to behave the way she did. And in this episode, in her conversation on the beach with John Henry, she talks about how her father's been married 4 times. She was living in like a group home at 17, how it was only one couple in her entire extended family that are married. And I just want to point out, Amy called that basically to a T. So go ahead and take your victory lap.
Listen, I don't necessarily enjoy being right about this. I think the thing that I feel most proud of is that like I can try to build some empathy into the way that I look at Kat and understand her behavior. And I think I probably said that in the episode where I was saying like this is the only way I can try to understand what's going on, is that when we see behaviors at the surface, the way that my training tells us that we need to use that information is behaviors on the surface demonstrate a way that someone is trying to get an underlying need met. And so it was very clear that there was some need that Kat was trying to get met, some feeling of discomfort that was getting acted out or enacted on the beach. And we were seeing this very rough, very prickly, very hot button, quick tempered reaction, set of behaviors from her. Like, and so for me, all of those behaviors coupled together and the way that she interpreted particular situations, the way that she was in relationships with men and women, just seemed to me very shame-based. And that's the like, this might be a weird thing for me to say, but like the kindest way that I can try to understand and make sense of how she could act the way that she did, which was like very, very hard to watch. So it doesn't like necessarily make me happy to be right about this. I'm not happy that she went through those things. But I feel okay that I was able to view her from like a curious point of view. I've been judgmental as hell about her, but like from that aspect of things, I've tried to be as curious about her and what's going on underneath for her in order for us to see what we're seeing on the surface. I think my reaction to her, and I was thinking about it right before we recorded, is that like the therapist side of me feels so burnt out by her and by seeing her repeated behaviors over and over and over again. And I just said, I hate when a villain wins. And that to me feels so frustrating, is that the way that she's maneuvered on this beach and now ends up here, it's like, that's not supposed to happen. Like I would have loved for Kat to demonstrate more self-awareness, more introspection, more just insight than she did. And it felt like she just kept like plowing through, bulldozing along, and she ended up with the best possible outcome. And that to me, like again, there as we initially said, we had 5 weeks of filming, only a couple of hours of that we saw. So there's probably a lot more to the story. There's definitely a lot more to the story than what we're seeing. But like it's frustrating. It's just very frustrating. And I think the other thing that I was also feeling annoyed at and angry at is like at production or at the show, and like you're dropping this huge piece of information about Kat to what? To endear us to her. And that again goes so far off of what I can support again as a therapist, in that, like, just because something really shitty happened to you, which has happened to shitty things happen to all of us, traumatic things happen to many of us, that does not, it gives us a reason for us to act in a certain way, perhaps, but it doesn't it doesn't make it okay. Like, once we have the awareness of this stuff happened to me, it impacted the way that I show up in the world or perceive the world. Once we have that awareness, we then have the responsibility to do better. And I didn't see Kat do that.
Mhm. Yeah. I mean, I just want to cap off all of that wonderful commentary with, you are the most insightful person I've ever met, and you're fantastic at your job. And yeah, that's why you've built a very fantastic company predicated on all of this stuff.
Well, thanks.
Yeah.
Gee, thanks. So anyway, all of this to say, I think, again, going back to our attachment styles, love language bonus episode, one of the things that we were saying about Kat is she's a little bit more on the anxious or perhaps disorganized attachment styles. Again, that tracks, considering particularly the disorganized attachment, just given what her upbringing was like in not having consistency or stability. And the thing that I said about growing to be more secure was to be in a relationship or seek out relationships with secure individuals. And so I have a lot of hope and optimism for Kat, that she has found a really solid partner, and what appears to be a very solid partner in John Henry. And that I think that Kat can really get healed through this relationship with John Henry. I hope. And I hope that she like in a way that is other than, she said things like, I deserve this, like in a way that actually, though, she really needs to heal through, and to know that she deserves love and kindness and care, and that she can be in a safe and secure relationship. Like, I hope that that is the thing that she recognizes that she deserves through this relationship with John Henry.
Yeah. All right. So we've already sort of alluded to it, but let's for the sake of the entirety of their arc, they do go to the fantasy suites. Production implies that perhaps they got a little down and dirty. I think that they probably did, because that just seems like the type.
They're very into each other.
They're very into each other. They're always making out. They're always touching. And they do their morning routine, day of the proposals. We're getting a lot of like conflicted, commentary from John Henry. He's basically saying his heart says get engaged. His gut says, like, let's just give it more time. And it's a lot of back and forth, but it feels like production is leading us more to that he's going to follow his gut, and we know that whatever hand we're being shown, it's the magic trick where it's really going to be in the other hand. So we roll on to the actual proposal, and they do the normal, like, I'm going to start the conversation pretending like I'm not going to, but in fact I am going to get down on one knee, and he proposes. And this is probably the biggest shock of all of this episode. I really I didn't see this coming. I thought for certain that production was setting us up so that we had villain Kat, and then we were going to get this like 2.5 hours of Kat. Because I paused the episode after the Eliza Aaron B, and it was still 18 minutes left. And I said, what on earth could go on for 18 more minutes? And the only thing I could come up with is, oh, Kat's going to lose it. She's going to literally just, John Henry is going to not get down on one knee, and she's just going to blow up, and it's just going to be 10 minutes of her on a tirade. And I was here for it. I was ready. I was excited. And no, he gets down on one knee and proposes, and we get a real kind of fluffy sort of ending. Yeah. So how surprised were you at the engagement?
I mean, unfortunately, not very surprised, but I was hoping for a Kat beheading. Like, I was hoping for that.
Would have been an awesome way to cap off the season.
It would have been great.
Yeah. But John Henry didn't get the memo.
Yeah. But they're apparently, we learn in the montage, still together as well.
They are moving.
They might also be moving to
San
Diego.
Did it say that they were moving together or something like that? Yeah, I think they also said they were moving in together or something, or moving closer together, something like that. So that is where we end the season. Two couples get engaged. One is already a little bit on rocky footing, and one is apparently on good footing. And then we have the Aven Kylee thing, where we can almost lump them into the engaged couple, where they are apparently moving forward, and moving in together and whatnot. Any quick hits on the montage that we didn't talk about? We got Rachel in there, who was apparently not interested in the montage. I don't think that was a surprise, but I thought that was noteworthy that they mentioned it. Anything else outside of that?
Braden and Christina Mandrell are dating.
Now, who's Christina Mandrell?
So she was from Zach's season,
Okay.
and she was a like fan favorite in a lot of ways because she's adorable and she had like a nice story of being a single mom of a very cute little girl. And Zach seemed to really like her. I really thought they were gearing up for her to be the next Bachelorette, but then she kind of had this incident on the show where I think Zach learned that she was like being unkind to some of the other women. It just like got very blown out of proportion.
Messy.
So she left, or like kind of, she didn't leave. I'm sorry. She was eliminated relatively early on. But she's a really funny personality. She's awesome follow on Instagram. And so for me, it feels like Braden and Christina make sense as a couple in terms of like their goofiness, their funness. I think she's 28, he's 25. So there's, an age gap.
Not really, but yeah.
But well, for a man to be younger, and she's
fair.
28 with a kid, which like
that's fair. Yeah. Yes.
But I'm excited for them. I think.
So you think this is a good coupling?
I think it's a good coupling. Yeah, I did not see it coming. But
makes sense.
It makes sense.
Good. Well, that's good for Braden. All right. So anyone else in the montage? They didn't give us everybody.
No, they didn't give us everybody, but that's okay.
Yeah. Anyone else you want to cover? All right. So shall we do grade the game?
Yeah.
All right. So grade the game. We're going to do the 4 that got engaged. Let's start off with John Henry.
I'm so conflicted on this. She gets an A.
D-.
John Henry's kind of a difficult one here because, I've said in the past that I do actually think that Kat is one of the most attractive, in my opinion, one of the most attractive girls on the beach, until she, her personality shines through. Or over clouds, perhaps a better phrase. He does seem genuinely happy. He was never really in doubt at any point in time throughout this entire season that he was going to get a rose. And so, I mean, he accomplished the task of staying, and he also accomplished the task of getting engaged to an attractive woman. I don't know necessarily. I can't make a judgment call on their relationship. But
yeah. Listen, it felt like John Henry entered. He remained true to himself. He remained in integrity. It felt like everything he did was kind of above board. The only criticism I think we gave him was related to like the ending of the Olivia relationship. But even that was just that was kind of light in terms of our criticism of him. But I feel like he is really, really into Kat, really cares about her. And again, it didn't feel like he was playing a game at all, which is how you've won in a lot of ways. So I give him an A.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's an A. As you stated, stay true to himself. He was never in doubt. He always had roses. There was at no point in time, and he never had drama really.
Very low key.
Low key with a lot of screen time.
Yeah.
I mean, talk about.
Well, not really. According to Bachelor data, he didn't even make the list there.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, well, it felt like he was on the camera a lot, but maybe it was because he was talked about a lot.
He was a late arrival.
He was a late arrival, but I also think he got a lot of indirect time. Like the amount of time that people were talking about him. Also, I'd be interested to know like that. Like how many times was Kat talking about him, or Olivia talking about him, or one of the other couples talking about him with either Kat or Olivia. That's all indirect screen time.
The other thing to note is that he was relatively unknown on his season with Charity, and now here he is again, the winner, one of the 4 winners of Paradise. So that also speaks to probably how much better he does in a setting like this, where there is more room for your personality to shine and for you to just get more comfortable.
Yeah. All right. So let's do the other guy, Aaron B.
This is a tough one. I feel like Aaron, one thing that they alluded to was that like Eliza and Aaron have like overcome every obstacle of paradise. I don't know what obstacles they're talking about.
The charity thing
The charity thing,
and the early on
Mercedes
Mercedes thing. Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Otherwise, they were locked in without.
Or I guess Eliza went on a date with John B. and then all of that. So, I mean, maybe that it was a little rocky for them at times. I'm not sure. But Aaron is someone who zeroed in on his person. He was, as I said before, like committed. He did not like he had blinders on. He was in it to win it, and he did. And so I mean, maybe I'll knock a couple points off for just like some of that early stuff, but I think I'd give him like a B plus.
I'm exactly on B plus as well. I think he mishandled the charity thing pretty hardcore. I think he misplayed the Mercedes thing. But other than that, and I think he's a little bit too cringy with the Eliza stuff. But at the end of the day, I do believe that he came in here really wanting to find a person. I think he loves love. I think he did that, and to the best of his ability, he zeroed in on a girl that I do think in some way works for him. You know, I think there's a lot of maturity that has to happen there before she's going to be ready for a real true marriage. But yeah, it was probably the best, you know, pick for him on the beach, and he was never in doubt really for a rose at any point in time either. So I agree, B plus. All right, switch over to the ladies. Eliza.
Oh God, where to begin in grading her? She did not appear to have a good time on this season. She was someone who contributed to her own suffering, or was the cause of her own suffering the entire time. Where, you know, she's someone who, it seemed like, kind of similar to Jess, she's on this gorgeous beach, and it's like a partly cloudy sky, and that's all she could focus on, you know?
Yeah.
And so I just felt like Eliza wasn't fully in it, was like so doubtful, asked for so much reassurance. I mean, it worked, it paid off, but this wasn't for me, unless that was the whole point of it, the whole way along. It's just like, just keep asking for more and more and more validation. And she picked someone that could give her that security. It just never was enough. And so I'm having a hard time figuring out what to grade her, because she ultimately got everything that she said that she wanted, but I don't think that she won, actually, because she didn't seem very happy to me. So I'm going to give her a C.
So I'm a D plus.
Okay.
For a lot of the same reasons you sort of implied. She's a great example of better lucky than good, right? What did she actually do? She didn't put in the proper effort. She didn't handle basically any situation. Find me a situation that she handled well. What she did was get locked into a guy who is so desperately cringy for love, and just let him dote on her, right? And that's the only reason why she doesn't get an F. But literally every time she was on the screen, it was her making a mistake in some way, shape, or form. I don't think she's ready for any of the marriage-related stuff. And I think if Aaron B wasn't on that beach, she would have gone home very early, because I don't know how many guys would have really put up with the whole thing. The whole thing was just a turnoff for me, and you know, from start to finish. And sure, you know, people need roses, and you know, she might have gone, but if it was anybody other than Aaron B on that beach, I'm not sure that she makes it more than you know, 1 or 2 rose ceremonies. So she's a D plus for me. I agree. I don't think she won. I don't think they're getting married. I think that they're a great story for the show, because on the beach they work on the beach, but off the beach, I don't think she's ready for that.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, cap it off. America's new sweetheart, the Bachelor Nation new sweetheart that everyone loves, with the reigning queen, redemption arc.
Redemption arc.
Hey, listen, I don't know what a redemption arc is. We're moving to Cat.
Cat gets an A. Absolutely
100% an A. There's nothing more can be said.
You got an A. You did it.
I don't think there's a better demonstration on this beach of somebody who got everything she wanted without ever having to compromise, no matter how crazy or insane it was, and homie hopped, to use Braden's phrase, all over the beach, and like never
landed on a fiance.
Landed on literally
the most eligible
bachelor. Insane how we got here, but you know what? Good job, Kat. You know, to use Olivia's term, chef's kiss. Yeah.
So while these were the technical winners of Paradise, there are other people in our eyes that actually won, that
Oh, yeah.
actually won Paradise.
Absolutely.
And the first person that I would like to give this award to is to Olivia. Olivia,
Absolutely agree.
for me, Olivia won the season.
Yeah, I think if there's any single person on that beach who raised their platform, their influence, appreciation and love of the audience, it's clearly Olivia. She went from a day one or no name to
She had, according to
literally,
Bachelor data, the most screen time out of anybody by minutes.
and it was not enough in my mind.
Yeah.
Still,
Right.
yep,
I agree.
the best narrator, the most fun, most interesting plot lines. And yeah, I think she's gonna come away from this, with a lot of opportunities, not just romantically, but career-wise.
I also found her to be so high in integrity.
Yes.
She wasn't someone that would talk shit about anybody behind their back and not also follow it up and say it to their face. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like she is an A, like has A plus in terms of character, not like character on a show, but character, integrity. She is good people. I am so happy that we got a chance to like actually meet her, and see more of her. And I hope that we see more of her. I hope that this experience hasn't completely ruined her being on her experience of being on TV where we don't see her again. I hope that we do.
I think that a lot of opportunities are going to open themselves for her, and this is not going to be the last we see of her.
Yeah. So she wins our big, what is it? The gold. She wins the gold for us.
Yeah, absolutely. And so the next one, I think, got a redemption arc.
Yes, actually got a redemption
got an actual redemption arc. Became beloved by so many people, not just the audience, but also former fellow cast members. And that's Braden. Braden came in, apparently, as you pointed out, he was not well liked on a season. People didn't like his honesty, and got kind of a villain edit. We were very critical with all the earrings and the scarves and all that nonsense. We were very critical early on of him as well. And, Sean and Aaron B were like, if that guy comes down here, like, and they all became super close buddies. Sean speaks glowing of him in all these post Paradise episodes or interviews that he does. America seems to love him now. And even though I still don't love all the accessories, like the fact that he is such a genuine, honest guy, and he takes accountability when he makes a mistake. Another high integrity guy who's just young and dumb and makes some mistakes. But
I believe he'll learn from them.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, 100%. So I think he was another big winner, because I think there's a lot of people who would love to see him, love to see more of him, myself included.
Yeah, I totally agree. I confessed my love for him earlier on in this season. I've really grown to love and appreciate Braden. And I'm so, again, similar to Olivia, I'm so happy that we had another opportunity to see him at a different angle and a different environment. And yeah, and he has found love kind of within Bachelor Nation, but outside of the show, and good for him. I hope it sticks.
Yeah. All right. Want to move on to Rose and Thorn?
Sure.
All right. You want to go first?
Okay. I guess I'll end with my Rose and start with my Thorn.
Okay.
My Thorn was Jess's overall attitude this I guess I was going to say this episode,
this season,
the last few episodes, the immaturity, the entitlement, just not really being able to get out of her own way. I know she hates the name Baby J, but it sticks for a reason. And just like, it was really hard to kind of like to watch and listen to her. Almost like, and I guess Kylee demanding an engagement was like right up there with like two big thorns for me this week. Are these two women that are wanting marriage, but don't even understand conceptually what that even is.
Yeah.
And it felt like disrespect to people that are actually in marriage and committed relationships.
Yeah. All right. Well, I will follow up with my thorns then. I'm kind of pulling a U, and I got multiple. Okay. So first thorn is length of the episode. I've complained about it. 3 hours. It was a lot of filler. It was really frustrating. I had to do it in 2 sittings. You did it in 3. It was just, it was long, drawn out. Production, please don't put us through that. If you don't have 3 hours worth of content, then don't,
Yeah.
you know, don't give it to us. Just, just because you committed to it 6 months ago that you're gonna do a 3-hour finale, like, you don't have the content, you don't have the content. Just don't do it.
And you know what the annoying thing is? Like, I would have loved to see an after the final rose, but none of the couples, like, they had nothing to give us. And so like, it was very frustrating.
Yeah, that's what it kind of felt like. Maybe that's what it was supposed to be.
Yeah.
But it was just going to be such a dud that they
Yeah.
just scrapped it and did the
Yeah.
stupid montage and then filled with an extra hour of content that wasn't there.
Yeah, I guess I would have rather seen extra content on the beach than them trying to fill an hour of after the final rose, because that would have been
Brutal.
more awful.
That would have been the Golden Bachelor Women Tell All.
Sort of.
That was just a waste of an hour. Yeah. So second thorn is going to go to, spoiler, we didn't even talk about it because it was that boring. And, is Kenny and Mari from some prior season came back and they did a fake wedding. They got married for real, and they had a whole big thing in like one of the magazines. Yeah, People magazine. And yet they come down to the beach and do like a fake wedding. Okay, fine. I get it. But like, this just felt like the worst filler of them all.
So long.
It was so long, and there was
It was
nothing
just very
interesting.
contrived.
Yeah.
Even like Blake coming down to be the best man, just.
Yeah, but the problem is Jess is already self-eliminated at that point, and so Blake being there is kind of like, okay, I guess the only plot line I got to deal with is the Kylee thing. It was just, the whole thing sucked. The whole thing was terrible. I was out on the whole thing, and I wish that it wasn't even a factor in any way, shape, or form. Also, I thought the advice when they sat down with people, specifically Aven, the advice they gave was horrific marriage advice and life advice in general. So I was out on the whole thing. And then the third thorn, I'm going 3 thorns deep this week, was because they had to do all this filler, the back and forth, the whiplash between the couples. Like, can you just settle on one couple? Give me their plot line. Last week was a fantastic layout. I even commented on it. Like, just bam, 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 bam. Got all the couples, got my thing, rose ceremony, done. Move on, and maybe that was a little too streamlined. I get it. I liked it that way. But this week, it was just, you're getting whiplash just going back and forth and back and forth, hearing the same shit. The Aven Kylee thing, the amount of times that we went to someone else, then came back to them, heard the same thing back and forth and back and forth, hearing the same commentary over and over and over again was just brutal.
I know. I don't even want to hear it now. What else you got?
All right. So those are my 3 thorns.
Okay.
Go ahead. What are your roses?
Honestly, my rose goes to production giving us in the montage Will falling in the pool.
Oh yeah.
We rewatched it 3 times. It still hits.
I love that Apple TV has that back 10-second button. That's like the best button on Apple TV.
So that was like, especially after getting to that point in the episode, it was like, okay, thank you. Like, we needed a little
levity.
So that is what gets my rose this week.
And the crazy thing is, Will, only having been in 4 complete episodes, going home at the beginning of episode 5, ended up with like the top 3 or 4 screen time or something.
Not quite the top 3 or 4, but he was in at least the top 10. I think probably a little bit somewhere between 5 and 10.
Yeah, which is amazing that which basically means the entire first 4 episodes were just all Will centric.
Yeah.
Okay. So any other roses? Or are you just doing one this week?
Listen, this episode.
It was a rough one. Believe it or not, I got more than 1 rose.
Okay.
My rose really is going to Aven. I liked and respected the way he stood his ground and wasn't bullied into a life-changing decision that he was not prepared for. So I give him a lot of credit for that and a lot of respect. And so he gets the rose for that. I have a second rose off the run, but it was so enjoyable watching this episode with you because you were just screaming at the TV for 3 hours. And it was it was actually more entertaining watching you scream at the TV than it was watching this episode in most cases.
So annoyed.
Watching
this episode.
It was so good. So that was really like the highlight.
Provide you entertainment.
Yeah, because normally you're so quiet during these things. You're taking your notes and you're analyzing stuff. But this time it was just like, you didn't have your laptop, but you weren't even taking notes on this one. You were like, I can't.
I told you I'm burnt out.
I'm burnt out. Can't do it. And just screaming at the TV. Oh my God. It was like when I watch football.
Yeah, that's what exactly it reminded me of. That's like you watching football.
Yeah.
This is my Super Bowl. Okay.
Yeah.
And the team that I wanted to win did not win.
Yeah. So that is gonna, I guess, cap off season 9 of the Bachelor in Paradise. We're gonna be back in a month and a half or so to do the Golden Bachelor wedding, and then after
A
that,
month
Joe.
and a half. It's date of filming is December
Oh, fair. So like a
December 9th.
so like we got in like a month we'll be back for the Golden Bachelor wedding, and then at some point shortly thereafter, Joey's season will start.
Mhm.
So
And
that's
and
where
we'll be back in between then as well, as we said at the top, with some bonus episodes.
yeah.
Um,
All right, want to take us home?
yes. If you are a Golden Bachelor watcher and you haven't yet watched our finale episode of The Golden Bachelor, make sure to check that out. We also have another podcast called Wishing You Well, where me and my therapist co-host Catherine talk you through living a well life and help you navigate how to do that for yourself. So you can find that on YouTube, on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify. You can also continue to follow along with us on Instagram at ReviveCFW. You can follow me at Amy Albero LCSW. Check out our website, revivecfw.com. And that does it. We're done.
Woo!
We did it. We made it. We'll see you all soon. Bye.
See ya.